When I came home, my wife's ex was already living in my house. She called it compassion. I called it insanity. So the next day, let's just say I gave her my own version of The Empire Strikes Back. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how this ridiculous circus started, I need to take you back to the moment I walked through my front door. I pull into my driveway around 6, and there's a truck parked where my truck usually goes. Not my truck. A different truck. Red, kind of beat up, one of those toolboxes bolted into the bed that screams, "I fix things for a living and also possibly my own life." Unclear. I remember sitting there for a second just staring at it like it was going to explain itself. It did not explain itself. I figured maybe it was a neighbor, maybe somebody's contractor, maybe I'd married into some kind of surprise carpentry situation nobody told me about. So I parked on the street like a guest in my own house, which, looking back, was foreshadowing I didn't appreciate at the time, and walked in through the front door. And there's a guy on my couch, not sitting politely on the edge like a visitor, sprawled, feet up, remote in one hand, my beer, from my fridge, in the other, watching some show about guys who restore old muscle cars like he'd been doing it every evening for the past decade. He looks over at me and goes, "Hey man," like I'm the one who just walked into somebody else's living room. And I'm standing there in my work clothes, keys still in my hand, doing that thing where your brain is very slowly loading a program it hasn't run in years. Because I know this face. I know this face from somewhere. It's got that, I peaked in high school and I'm at peace with it quality to it. And then it clicks. Dustin. Monica's ex. The one from 6 years ago. The one whose name occasionally came up in old stories the way you'd mention a weird rash you had once. Memorable, slightly uncomfortable, definitely in the past. "Dustin?" I said, and I heard my own voice come out flatter than I meant it to. "The one and only," he said, and did this little finger gun thing at me. A finger gun. In my house. On my couch. That's when Monica walks in from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel, completely calm, like she's about to tell me she used the last of the milk. "Oh good, you're home," she said. "You remember Dustin?" Not a question. A statement. Like she was reintroducing me to a distant cousin at a wedding. Yeah, I said. "I remember Dustin. Why is Dustin on our couch drinking my beer?" "He's staying with us for a bit," she said. And she said it so smoothly, so casually, that for one full second I actually thought it was a joke, like she was setting up some kind of bit, and any second now she'd crack a smile and say, "Kidding, he's just here to grab his sister's old blender," or something equally normal. She did not crack a smile. "Staying with us," I repeated, just to hear how it sounded out loud. It sounded insane out loud. "For like a month, maybe," Dustin chimed in helpfully, still not moving from the couch. "Lost my apartment. Long story. Landlord's a whole situation." He said situation the way some people say long COVID. Like it explained everything and nothing. I looked at Monica. Monica looked at me with the expression of someone who had already had this argument in her head, won it, and moved on with her day. "Can I talk to you?" I said, in the kitchen. "You can talk to me here," she said. Dustin's basically family. Dustin, God bless him, actually raised his beer, my beer, like that was a nice thing to hear, and said, "Appreciate that, Mon." I did not appreciate that. I got Monica into the kitchen anyway, mostly through sheer force of walking away and trusting she'd follow, which, to her credit, she did. "He lost his apartment," she said, before I could even start. "He has nowhere to go." What was I supposed to do, Nolan? Let him sleep in his truck? "I don't know. Maybe start with a phone call to your husband," I said, "before moving him into the guest room?" Her face did this thing, that little flicker of, oh, he already knows about the guest room, and I realized, standing there in my own kitchen, that this was not a plan in progress. This was a plan completed, past tense, finished. "You already moved his stuff in," I said slowly. "I helped him with a few boxes, yes. A few boxes. He doesn't have that much, Nolan. The man lost everything. I'm not asking about his stuff, Monica. I'm asking why I'm finding out about my own guest room from the guest. She crossed her arms. I know that stance. That's the, I have already decided I am right stance. I've seen it during furniture arguments, during in-law arguments, during one truly unhinged argument about whether cereal counts as soup. She was locked in. It's a month, she said. Maybe less. He's going through something. This is what decent people do for each other. Decent people don't move their ex-boyfriend into their marriage without a conversation. He is not moving into our marriage. He's sleeping in the guest room. That's okay. That's not actually better. That's the same thing with a door on it. She let out this sigh, the kind that's less, I'm frustrated, and more, I'm disappointed in you as a person, which is somehow always worse. I thought you were more compassionate than this, she said. And there it was, right on schedule. I hadn't even gotten a full minute into this conversation, and I was already being cast as the villain of a story I didn't know I was in. This isn't about compassion, I said. I'm not saying leave the guy on the street. I'm saying maybe a hotel, maybe his brother's place, maybe literally anywhere that isn't 40 feet from our bed. His brother lives in another state, Nolan. They have flights, Monica. They have those now. She didn't laugh. She was really not in a laughing mood, and honestly, neither was I. I just processed stress through sarcasm. It's a whole thing. Ask my mother. It's a month, she said again, like repeating it enough times would make it smaller. He lost his job before that too. It's been a rough year for him. If it were one of my friends in this situation, you wouldn't even blink. If one of your friend's exes moved into our house, I think I'd blink a normal amount, yeah. You're being paranoid. I'm being a person whose wife rearranged our living situation without mentioning it. I already told him he could stay, she said. I'm not going to uninvite him. That's humiliating for everyone. And there it was, the real issue, laid out plain. It wasn't a discussion. It had never been a discussion. It was a notification. We went back and forth like that for a while, quieter now, because Dustin was still in the next room, and neither of us wanted to have this at full volume with an audience. She had an answer for everything. He's harmless. He's just a friend now. There's nothing left between us. You're the one making this weird. Around the fourth or fifth lap of that argument, Dustin actually poked his head into the kitchen, hand raised like he was in a classroom. Hey, not trying to interrupt, he said, very much interrupting. But I really don't want to be like a problem here. I can crash in my truck if this is a whole thing. You are not sleeping in a truck, Dustin, Monica said immediately, in the exact tone you'd use on a child threatening to run away to the backyard. It's really no big deal, Dustin said to me now, doing this earnest, slightly clueless smile. I'll be out of your hair in no time, man. Promise. I'm basically a ghost. You won't even know I'm here. I looked at this 6-foot-something ghost currently occupying my couch, my beer, and roughly 40% of my evening, and thought, buddy, I already know you're here. That's the problem. But there's no good response to that. If I say something sharp, I'm the jerk who was mean to a guy who just lost his apartment. If I stay quiet, I'm apparently fine with all of this. Monica had built a version of tonight where every single exit led back to me being the bad guy. And the worst part was, I don't think she did it on purpose. I think she genuinely believed she was doing something good, something obviously good, and couldn't understand why I wasn't nodding along. Dinner was its own kind of special. Monica made it seem like a totally normal Friday, chatting with Dustin about people I didn't know from a life I wasn't part of, while I sat there eating in the kind of silence that has a temperature. Dustin tried a couple times to pull me into the conversation, asked about my job, complimented the house, told a mildly funny story about a guy he used to work with who microwaved fish in a shared office kitchen, which, fine, that one actually got a small laugh out of me before I remembered I was supposed to be furious. By the time we got to bed, neither of us had really won anything. Monica fell asleep first, or did a very good impression of it, and I lay there in the dark listening to the unfamiliar sound of someone else's cough coming through the wall from what used to be our guest room, and was now, apparently, Dustin's room. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. Here's the thing about Monica. She's not a bad person. She genuinely believes she's the reasonable one in every version of this story. She thinks helping someone from her past, at the direct expense of a conversation with her present, is just what good people do. And she was so sure of it. So completely, unshakably sure. And somewhere around 2 in the morning, staring at that ceiling, a thought started forming that I didn't love. Not a plan yet. Just the beginning of one. A little itch in the back of my head. If Monica really believed this, if she really thought that helping out someone from your past, no questions asked, no discussion needed, was just basic human decency, then I figured there was only one honest way to find out how far that belief actually went. I didn't know what that meant yet. Not exactly, but I had a feeling I was about to find out. I want to tell you that I woke up Saturday morning feeling calm and rested, ready to handle things like an adult. I did not. I woke up to a sound like a jet engine trying to take off directly underneath our bedroom window. Monica shot up in bed at the exact same moment I did, both of us blinking in that confused, half-panicked way you do when your brain hasn't figured out yet whether it's an emergency or just Tuesday. "What is that?" she said, which, fair question. We went to the window, and there, in our backyard, at 8 in the morning, was Dustin, pushing our lawnmower, wearing no shirt, grinning like a man who'd just discovered fire. He looked up, saw us in the window, and gave this big, enthusiastic wave like we were watching him graduate. "Figured I'd help out," he shouted over the engine. "Least I could do." Monica turned to me with this soft, almost proud little smile, the kind you'd give a dog that finally learned to sit. "See?" she said. "He's trying." I didn't say anything, because at that exact moment, the mower made a sound I can only describe as a dying robot. A horrible metallic screech, followed by a genuinely impressive cloud of gray smoke, followed by silence. The good kind of silence, the kind that cost you $400. Dustin stood there staring down at it like it had betrayed him personally. "Huh?" he said. "That's not great." We went downstairs. I went outside in my socks, which was already a mistake, because our yard has approximately 1,000 tiny rocks whose sole purpose is finding sock feet. Dustin was crouched next to the mower, poking at it like it might apologize. "I think it just kinda gave out," he said. "I was barely even pushing hard." "That mower is like 8 months old," I said. "Machines just do that sometimes, man. Old parts, you know." It was not old parts. I bought that thing in the spring. I have the receipt. I have an emotional attachment to that receipt now, apparently, because it's the last physical proof that this weekend used to make sense. I looked at Monica, waiting for her to say something like, "Oh no, Dustin, you should have asked before using it," or literally anything resembling accountability. Instead, she laughed. An actual laugh, light and easy, like this was a cute little mishap and not $400 evaporating into a smoke cloud in our backyard. "Accidents happen," she said. "He was trying to do something nice. He broke my mower. He was trying to help, Nolan. That counts for something." Does it count for the mower, though? Because the mower does not seem to care about his intentions. She gave me a look. The look. The one that means don't do the sarcasm thing right now. "At least he's trying to contribute," she said, lowering her voice like Dustin couldn't hear us standing 4 feet away from him. "Do you know how many people would just sit on the couch and mooch off us for a month? He's out here at 8 in the morning trying to help. And now we have no mower. It's a mower, Nolan. It's not a person." I went back inside. Not to sulk. Okay, partially to sulk, but mostly because I had an idea, and I needed my wallet to make it happen. I came back out with cash. A stack of it, actually, because I'd pulled together what I had for exactly this kind of situation, back when I still thought this could be solved with logistics instead of feelings. "Dustin," I said, "I want to do something for you." He perked up immediately, the way golden retrievers do when you pick up the leash. "I want to put you up in a hotel," I said. Nice one. A month, all paid, right now, no strings. You get your own space, you get to breathe, figure things out on your own schedule, no rent, no bills, I'll even throw in some spending money. For one glorious second, I thought I had won. Dustin actually looked like he was considering it. His eyebrows did this little, that's not bad thing. Then Monica stepped in front of him like she was blocking a free kick. Absolutely not, she said. Monica, he doesn't need a hotel room, Nolan. He needs people around him. That's the whole point. The point of what? Of helping someone, she said, throwing her hands up like I'd just asked her to explain gravity. You don't stick someone who's struggling alone in a hotel room and call that support. That's not compassion. That's outsourcing. I opened my mouth to argue that 4 walls, a bed, and 0 awkward breakfast conversations sounded like a pretty solid form of support to me, personally. But Dustin cut in first, and his voice had dropped a little. Quieter. Less golden retriever, more kicked golden retriever. Honestly, man, he said, being alone right now it's not great for me. Like, at all. That got my attention, mostly because it was the first thing all weekend that didn't sound like a bit. I've been kind of a mess, he went on, rubbing the back of his neck, not really looking at either of us. Lost the job, lost the apartment, and being by myself in some hotel room with nothing to do. That's kind of exactly the situation where I start drinking again. Like, that's the setup. I know that about myself. Nobody said anything for a second. Even Monica went quiet, though hers looked more like, see, I told you, quiet than surprised quiet. I just need a month, Dustin said. Get back on my feet, save a little, find a place. I'll be quiet, I swear. You won't even notice me. I had noticed him at 8 in the morning destroying my lawn equipment with his bare hands, so that promise felt a little shaky already. But I kept that thought to myself, because the guy had just said something real, and even I'm not enough of a jerk to swing a joke at somebody right after that. Monica turned to me, arms crossed, but softer now, more pleading than combative. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she said. Sometimes people just need somebody to say, you can stay. That's it. That's the whole ask. Why is that so hard for you? It's not hard, I said. I just think the person who says you can stay should probably be both of us, together, before it happens. I'm saying it now. That's not how retroactive works, Monica. She sighed. The big one. The one that means we've officially reached the part of the argument where nobody's actually listening to anybody anymore. Dustin, sensing the temperature rising again, the man had genuinely excellent timing for diffusing things. I'll give him that. Clapped his hands together like he'd just remembered something important. Hey, how about this? He said. Let me run to the store, grab some stuff, make you guys dinner tonight. Least I can do after the whole. He gestured vaguely at the smoking mower corpse behind him. Situation. And hey, gives you two a couple hours to talk this out. Just the two of you, no third wheel. Monica lit up like he'd just proposed peace in the Middle East. That's so thoughtful, she said. Yes, do that. Take your time. And just like that, Dustin was pulling out of the driveway in his truck 20 minutes later, off to buy ingredients for an apology dinner, while Monica went inside humming to herself, already planning where we'd sit. I stood in the driveway for a minute after he left. Then I went around back, pulled out my phone, and called Trevor. Trevor and I go back to college. Trevor is the kind of guy who, if you called him and said, I need to disappear for 48 hours and also possibly a fake passport, would just ask what color you wanted the passport to be. Useful guy, questionable judgment, exactly what the moment called for. Dude, he said when he picked up, it's Saturday. I need a favor, a weird one. How weird? I laid it out for him. Not everything. I kept some of it vague even in my own head at that point, because half of this plan was still forming in real time. But enough. Enough that by the end of it, Trevor went quiet for a second, and then started laughing so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. That's insane, he said, once he caught his breath. That's genuinely one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Can you help or not? Oh, I'm absolutely helping. I know exactly who to call. Give me an hour. I went back inside. Monica was in the kitchen, wiping down counters that were already clean, the way she does when she's decided today is going to be a good day, and is personally forcing it into existence through sheer effort. Hey, I said, I gotta run out for a bit. Work thing. She barely turned around. On a Saturday? You know how it is. She did not in fact know how it is, because I don't get work calls on Saturdays, and we both know that. But she just nodded and said, okay, don't be too long, dinner's around 6, and went back to attacking a counter that had never once in its life been dirtier than fine. I met Trevor 40 minutes later at a diner off the highway. He was already grinning before I even sat down. Okay, he said, sliding his phone across the table. So I know 2 girls through a friend of a friend who do stuff like this all the time. Parties, pranks, that reality show that got canceled after like 4 episodes. They're professionals. Well, he paused. They're semi-professionals. They're available. Put it that way. I looked at the screen. 2 names, 2 photos, 2 women who, based purely on their expressions in these pictures, looked like they had absolutely no problem making somebody's night extremely uncomfortable for the right price. They're in, Trevor said. I already called. They just want to know when. I looked up at him. Tonight, I said. Dinner's at 6. We picked the 2 of them up about 45 minutes later, and I gave them the rundown in the car. Who Monica was, who Dustin was, what tonight needed to look like, and most importantly, what it absolutely could not look like, because I wasn't trying to blow up my marriage, I was trying to make a point. There's a difference. A thin one, sure, but a difference. Both of them just nodded along, completely unbothered, like I was explaining a normal catering request. So, basically, one of them said, checking her lipstick in the visor mirror, we just need to be a lot. Yeah, I said. A lot is exactly right. She smiled at that. It was not a comforting smile. It was an extremely promising one. We pulled back into the driveway a little before 6. I looked in the rearview mirror at the 2 women sitting calmly in the back seat, completely relaxed, like they did this kind of thing every weekend, which apparently they did. I got out of the car first, then the 2 of them got out, one after the other, and I should probably mention something. They were twins. Actual, identical, no-joke twins. And I remember standing there thinking, well, that's either going to make this plan work a lot better, or it's going to make it about 40% more insane. Turns out it was both. Their names were Ashley and Amanda. This is going to be fun, Ashley said, cracking her knuckles like she was about to go bowling. I could already smell the barbecue smoke drifting from the backyard, and under it, something that smelled suspiciously like burnt sugar and lighter fluid, which felt about right for the evening we were about to have. We rounded the side of the house, and there was Dustin, fully in his element, wearing an apron that said, Grill Sergeant, in letters that had clearly seen better decades, flipping steaks with the kind of confidence usually reserved for people who own the grill they're using. He spotted me and lit up. Nolan, buddy! He jogged over, tongs in one hand, a raw steak somehow still in the other, which is a combination I did not know was physically possible until that exact moment. You gotta try this marinade, man. It is legendary. Found the recipe today, total accident. I was literally just standing in the store, and this old guy hands me his cart and goes, trust me. And anyway, it's a whole story. I'll tell you after. It's crazy. He kept going for a solid 10 seconds before he actually looked past me and noticed Ashley and Amanda standing there. His whole sentence just stopped. Mid-word. Tongs frozen in the air. Oh, he said. Hey! Right on cue, Monica came out the back door, drying her hands on a towel. She does this a lot, I've noticed. It's basically her version of a warning siren. And stopped when she saw 2 unfamiliar women standing in her backyard. Who's this? She asked. Casual on the surface, not casual underneath. I could hear the gears turning. I put on my most relaxed voice, the one I usually save for telling people their car's ready at the shop. "This is Ashley," I said, "and her sister, Amanda." Both of them smiled and waved, warm and friendly, the picture of two perfectly nice house guests. Dustin smiled back automatically, still mid-recovery from the Tong freeze, clearly having no idea yet what he'd just walked into. Then I added, completely straight-faced, like I was mentioning the weather, "Ashley and I dated back in college. Amanda was always around too." Ashley picked it up without missing a beat. "We definitely had some fun back then," she said, with just enough of a smile to make it land. Amanda laughed. "Poor Nolan never really stood a chance with the two of us." I coughed. Genuinely, actually coughed, because even knowing this was coming, hearing it out loud in my own backyard hit different. "Ladies," I said, "maybe let's skip the old stories?" Ashley snapped into a little salute. "Sorry, boss." There was a pause, a real one, the kind where you can hear the grill hissing and absolutely nothing else. Dustin's forehead did this slow, confused crumple. "Boss?" Amanda didn't even blink. "Long story. We used to have our little role-playing jokes." "Let's not," I said, rubbing my temple. "Make this weirder than it already is." And here's the thing about Monica. She is a smart woman. She had already put it together. I watched it happen in real time, watched her jaw tighten just slightly, watched her eyes flick from me to Ashley to Amanda, and back to me, doing the math, getting the right answer, and not liking it one bit. But she didn't say anything yet, not yet, because I wasn't done. "So," I said, turning to the group at large, putting on my best, sincere, concerned citizen voice. "Funny story, actually. Ashley and Amanda had a fire at their place a couple days ago. Whole house, gone. Insurance is dragging its feet, no family nearby, nowhere to go." I let that sit in the air for a second. Then I looked right at Dustin, dead serious, and delivered the line I'd basically been rehearsing in my head the entire car ride home. After listening to Monica yesterday, I realized we should help people when they're going through a hard time, especially if they used to matter to us. Dustin, bless his simple, trusting heart, nodded along immediately, completely sold. "Man," he said, "that is rough. Good for you, Nolan. Seriously, that's the right thing to do." "Thanks, man," I said. "Means a lot, coming from you." And then Dustin, running entirely on autopilot, on pure hospitality momentum, waved the twins over toward the grill like he'd personally built the house they were about to see. Come on, you gotta see this," he said, already walking. "I got steaks, I got corn, I make a mean grilled corn. You're gonna love this." Ashley and Amanda exchanged one quick glance. I caught it, just barely, this little flicker of this guy's actually kind of adorable, before following him toward the smoke with easy, friendly smiles, chatting him up like old friends, which left me and Monica alone. She waited exactly until they were out of earshot. Then she turned to me, still smiling, the tight, performative kind, the one you use at family gatherings when someone said something political. And through that smile, very quietly, she said, "What exactly do you think you're doing?" I kept my voice calm, easy, almost cheerful, honestly, because I'd had all afternoon to prepare for this moment, and I was not about to waste it by sounding defensive. "They're going through a difficult time," I said. Her smile didn't move, but something behind her eyes did. "It's only temporary," I went on. "A couple weeks, maybe." "Nolan? Adults help people, Monica. That's just basic decency." "Stop it. It would honestly be pretty heartless to turn them away, don't you think? Especially after everything they've lost. Nolan, I swear to God, you said it yourself yesterday. Compassion matters." I shrugged, doing my absolute best impression of a man completely unaware of what he was doing. "Besides, they're just my exes. That was years ago. Ancient history. You said it yourself. The past is the past." Each line landed exactly the way I wanted it to. I watched her expression shift with every single one, watched her recognize her own words coming back at her, phrase by phrase, like I'd recorded her and hit play. Because I had, in a way. She stood there for a second, just breathing, jaw working like she was chewing on about 6 different responses and couldn't decide which one to fire first. And I want to be clear, she's not a dumb woman, not even close. She understood exactly what I'd done, understood it faster than I expected actually, which almost made me feel bad. Almost. Because underneath all of that anger, I could see something else creeping in. The tiniest flicker of, oh, I see what this is. The realization that I hadn't lost my mind. I just handed her a mirror and asked her to look at it for 5 minutes. Here's the part of the story where I have to admit something a little embarrassing. My plan worked way better than I wanted it to. I want you to picture the scene I was expecting. Quiet discomfort. Monica squirming a little. Maybe some pointed silences over the grilled corn. A nice, controlled little lesson, wrapped up before dessert. What I got instead was a full-blown party. Within about 20 minutes, Dustin had somehow become the unofficial host of an evening he wasn't supposed to be hosting, cracking jokes that weren't even that funny, but landed anyway because Ashley and Amanda were laughing at absolutely everything he said, feeding off each other, feeding off him, the whole yard turning into this loud, chaotic, genuinely fun mess that I had zero control over anymore. At one point, Dustin was demonstrating some kind of signature flip with the tongs, lost his grip, and sent a half-cooked burger patty sailing directly into the grass, and both twins laughed so hard Amanda had to sit down. At another point, somebody, I still don't know who, turned on music, and Dustin was doing this ridiculous shoulder dance thing while flipping corn, and Ashley was filming it on her phone like they'd all known each other for years. My carefully engineered discomfort machine had, somewhere along the way, become an actual good time. For everyone except one person. Monica was not having a good time. She was doing an excellent impression of having a good time, mind you. Big hostess smile, refilling drinks, laughing a half-second too late at jokes she clearly hadn't found funny. But I know that woman's face better than I know my own, and I could see the gears grinding underneath every single smile. "Hey, Monica," Ashley called out at one point. "You got a spare shirt I could borrow? Dustin got me with the hose." "He what?" "It was an accident," Dustin shouted from across the yard, holding the hose like evidence at a crime scene. Monica went inside to find a shirt. 10 minutes later, it was Amanda, needing a hairdryer. Then it was both of them, needing towels, then a phone charger because apparently somebody's phone had taken a swim during the hose incident. And every single time, Monica had to drop what she was doing and go be the world's most gracious host to 2 women who, unbeknownst to her, I had personally paid to be exactly this much of a lovable, exhausting handful. I stood by the grill sipping a beer, watching my wife jog in and out of the house on various errands of hospitality. And I have to be honest with you, I have never enjoyed a beer more in my life. I wasn't proud of that. I want to be clear about that part. But I also wasn't not proud of it. Because now she knew, now she understood in her body, in her actual tired feet, what it felt like to have your home quietly stop being fully yours for a weekend. I didn't have to explain it to her anymore. She was living it in real time, one borrowed hairdryer at a time. By 11 that night, the party had migrated indoors, specifically into the guest room, where Dustin, Ashley, and Amanda had apparently decided that board games and a very loud round of truth or dare were exactly what the evening still needed. I could hear them through the wall, bursts of laughter, someone yelling, "No way, you actually did that!" The thud of somebody falling off the bed laughing. Monica and I lay in our room, staring at our own ceiling for the second night in a row, except this time, neither of us was pretending to be asleep. "This is insane," she finally said, into the dark. "Yep. I feel like a stranger in my own house." "Yep. Nolan." "Yeah?" There was a long pause. Through the wall, somebody, Dustin, probably, let out a laugh so loud it practically had its own zip code. "I get it," she said quietly. "Okay? I get it now. All of it, this weekend. This is what you were trying to tell me on Friday, isn't it? I didn't say anything right away, partly because I wanted her to keep going, mostly because I wanted to enjoy the moment for exactly one more second before I had to be a decent husband about it. It's humiliating, she said, feeling like a guest, having to ask if it's okay to use my own bathroom because someone's in there. I hated it. Welcome to Friday, I said. I know. And Saturday. I know, Nolan. We argued a little after that. Not really arguing, more like unpacking, going back over the last 2 days piece by piece. Her pointing out that I'd taken things way too far. Me pointing out that way too far was sort of the whole point. Both of us occasionally cracking up despite ourselves at how genuinely deranged the past 48 hours had been. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, we finally started actually hearing each other instead of just taking turns talking, which, looking back, might have been the most productive fight of our entire marriage. We didn't get much sleep. Neither did the guest room, apparently, based on the noise level. Sunday morning arrived looking exactly as rough as you'd expect. I came downstairs to find Dustin at the kitchen table, disturbingly cheerful for a man who'd clearly slept about 2 hours, sipping coffee like he owned the place, which, to be fair, he'd basically been acting like all weekend. "Morning," he said. "Hey, so me and the girls were thinking, I want to show them around town today. Take them to that diner, maybe the lake. That cool?" I glanced at Monica, who had just walked in and was clearly still recovering from approximately 4 hours of sleep. "Sure," I said. "Have fun." The three of them left around 10 and didn't come back until early evening, at which point Dustin walked through the door with his bags already half-packed and an expression on his face I hadn't seen on him the entire weekend, something that actually looked like real happiness, not just the performed everything's fine kind he'd been running on since Friday. "So," he said, "funny story. Please tell me it doesn't involve a truck," I said. No, well, kind of actually. We're taking my truck. Look, long story short, I'm gonna go stay with Amanda for a bit. Maybe Ashley too, it's a whole living situation, it's complicated, don't worry about it." "Dustin, I found a place," he said, grinning. "And I think I found, I don't know, man, a new chapter? That sounds cheesy. It's a little cheesy. But yeah." He looked genuinely lighter than he had 2 days ago, standing in our doorway with his bags, and I felt this weird little twist of something that wasn't quite guilt, but was definitely in the same neighborhood as guilt, because the guy had shown up completely unaware he was a prop in somebody else's marital argument, and somehow it had turned into the best weekend of his year. "Thank you," he said to both of us. "This weekend, I don't know. I needed this more than you guys probably realize. I'm gonna be all right." Monica hugged him. I shook his hand. And then he was gone, off down the driveway toward his truck, where Ashley and Amanda were already waiting. While Monica went to grab something from inside, I caught up with the twins by the truck and quietly slipped them the rest of what I owed them, folded up, no big production about it. "Here," I said. "Thanks. Seriously. You two were incredible." Ashley took it, glanced at it, tucked it away. "Honestly, we'd have done half this for free," she said. "Dustin's actually kind of great." "He's a lot funnier than the guy Trevor described on the phone," Amanda added, laughing. "I think this whole ridiculous prank might have accidentally turned into a real thing." "Don't tell him that part," I said. "Oh, we're definitely telling him that part," Ashley said, grinning. And then they were in the truck, waving out the window as Dustin pulled out of the driveway for the last time. And just like that, the house was empty. No truck outside. No twins asking to borrow the hairdryer. Just me, Monica, and a backyard that looked like it had survived a minor natural disaster. She sank onto the couch, the same couch Dustin had been sprawled across 3 days earlier, drinking my beer, feeling completely at home, and let out this long breath, like she was deflating after holding herself together for 72 straight hours. "I made a mistake," she said, just like that. No defensiveness, no qualifiers, nothing. I sat down next to her. "Which part?" "All of it. The whole, deciding without you, assuming you'd just be fine with it because I'd decided it was fine. She shook her head. The problem was never really Dustin. I mean, it was a little bit Dustin, but mostly it was me, doing something huge to our house, our life, without even asking. Yeah, I said. That was pretty much it. And you? She said, giving me a look. Pulling twins out of nowhere to teach me a lesson is possibly the most unhinged thing you have ever done in your entire life. In my defense, it worked. It also could have completely blown up in your face. Also true. We sat there for a second, and then one of us started laughing. I genuinely don't remember who went first. Never again, Monica said, once we'd both caught our breath. I promise, no more life-altering decisions without talking to you first. We spent the next hours cleaning up, and somewhere in the middle of all that, still picking bottle caps out of the grass, it hit me that we'd actually gotten something real out of the single most ridiculous weekend of our marriage. Because kindness is a good thing. I still believe that. Monica still believes that. Probably more than I do, honestly. But kindness that skips the conversation isn't really kindness. It's just a decision somebody else has to live with. Some weekends you just don't see coming.